Namaste and welcome back to another episode of the Sapient podcast. And today we have yet another American on the podcast. Her name is Dawnita and she has her own YouTube channel. Um, the name is Prayer Dust. Sorry, I totally messed up the name. So Dawnita, could you help us with the name?
I'm Dawnita with the Prairie Dust channel
Mhm.
on YouTube. Yes.
Yeah,
I'm from Oklahoma, so I don't even speak English good either. So I understand.
yeah. I don't know why prairie is somewhat of a weird word for me. Like it's very hard to bring it in a sentence.
I, I understand. We've got a lot of words. I didn't realize how hard English was until I started teaching reading to our children.
Yeah,
One of
yeah.
the girls was like, trying to pronounce oil,
Mhm.
and she was O, and I said it's oil, honey.
Mhm.
It's oil. It's okay.
Yeah, English is a very hard subject to master.
It is.
Um, but fortunately for us, the Brits themselves have destroyed the language, so it's quite easy, right?
Yes.
It has made it like far more easy for us to live with English. By the way, Donita, do you know like India has the highest number of English speakers in the world?
Really.
Yeah,
I'm not surprised. I'm not surprised because you guys have got a lot of languages. I mean,
yeah.
we have a lot of languages with the Native American languages over
Hmm.
here and stuff. And there are places where you have to be trilingual to be able to
Hmm.
work at like a gas station or a quick stop or
Yeah.
something.
Hmm.
Um, but most everybody speaks some dialect of English.
English. Yes, the same old, tyrannical language. Yeah.
Yes.
In India, it's like we have like too many languages to count. Yeah, because we have 38 like recognized languages. Recognized meaning they have their own alphabets and grammar, and we have totally 64 that people speak. And even in those languages, there are accents and variations, right, throughout the region.
Right.
Yeah, so in India it's a very common thing. If you are like, if you know like 2 to 3 languages, like trilingual is like a basic requirement, I would say.
Yeah. Yeah. Just to get around, right? Ours
Yeah.
is so mixed up in America because we had so many people that come from Ireland and from
Hmm.
Germany and France.
Yeah.
So we have a lot of extra in
Yeah,
there.
I understand. Yeah, that's why I think American like English is also different. Because the most like loved accent for me is the southern accent, like, because that's like one of the most, I don't know why, but I feel it's a very warm kind of accent, right?
I heard
um
somebody on TikTok recently compare it to the Scottish because there's
hmm
a lot of Scots
hmm
that settled in the South,
yeah.
and that our accent
Hmm.
is closer to the Scottish.
But
So
Donata, I would say the whole that island, right, the group of islands, their accent is forgettable, I would say.
yes.
Yeah.
Oh, oh, no offense to anybody who might be
Yeah.
listening, right?
Yeah, no, it's okay. They have offended us for what, like for past 300 years. It's okay. It's okay if you offend them in the 21st century. The first time I saw an Tory MP, right, like their elected congressman, right, talk English. Yeah, I was confused.
I bet.
My 18-year back then, when I was 18-year olds, my 18-year-old brain did not want to accept that that was English.
Well, I moved in high school to Los Alamos, New Mexico,
Hmm.
where the first nuclear bomb was designed,
Hmm.
created. And the kids all came to my table at lunchtime and they said,
Mhm.
"Okay, talk." And I'm like, "Well, I reckon I was just fixing to go get me another sandwich." And they're like, "See, she's a hick."
Yeah, yeah. I feel like that's the best like thing, right? But I openly hate the Californian accent. Like I don't have any kindness for them.
The
I would say.
Northern Californians I can understand, but
Yeah.
the Southern Californians
Uh-huh.
and then the Hispanics that come up from Mexico, the Mexican Southern
Yeah.
Californians,
Mhm.
and I've grown up with Mexicans coming back and forth all of my life.
Mhm.
And I can understand most Spanish. I can speak
Mhm.
just a teeny bit, but
Mhm.
those Southern Californian Mexicans, I can't understand them at all. I can't understand them
Yeah.
if they're speaking Spanish or English.
Mhm. Yeah. Yeah. That's true. I mean, language is truly a very, very weird thing, right? Because I am from South India, so I always tell to my guests like, you are lucky you got a better English speaking Indian. Yeah, yeah. If you go to north, like certain parts, English is really weird.
Yeah. Well, we
Because.
have, a lot of the telemarketers and a
Mm-hmm.
lot of the online help and stuff
Yeah.
in India.
Mm-hmm.
And
How
sometimes,
irritating is that?
I, sometimes you can understand them just fine. And they're usually very polite. I
Yeah.
will say that, I,
Mm-hmm.
I'm, I'm not, I like to get a conversation started.
Yeah.
And find out, where you're at and what's it
Mm-hmm.
like over there and stuff. I like
Yeah.
watching on YouTube, Praveen Mohan.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know if I'm saying his name right, but
Yeah.
I really enjoy watching him going around the country and
Mm-hmm.
showing the ancient artifacts and stuff. It's
Mm-hmm.
very interesting to me.
Yeah. India is definitely a fascinating country, I would say.
Definitely.
Um, yeah, but the I feel like the industry complex of United States is so big. You know, you guys have managed to influence the whole world. Without even trying.
I did. That's scary.
Yeah, yeah, that's scary.
Yeah,
Definitely.
that's kind of scary. I was,
Yeah, like your Hollywood is a big machine, right?
yeah, yeah.
Yeah, I
Not
mean.
necessarily a good thing a lot of
Mhm.
times, unfortunately.
Yeah, I mean, Americans can't like afford healthcare, but they can afford like a $400 million movies.
Well,
Yeah,
yeah, and that's a mindset issue.
yeah, yeah.
We've not had any problem. We don't live high society here where we're
Hmm.
at. We're not very fancy or highfalutin or anything, but we don't have any problem affording the health care
Hmm.
that we want to use.
Yeah.
And we're uninsured. We don't have insurance as our
Hmm.
from our own choice. We choose not to. If you're uninsured in the United States and you
Hmm.
have to go to the hospital for an emergency or something, if you
Yeah.
tell them we are cash pay and we
Hmm.
will work out payments with you, they'll knock a lot of times 60% off the bill.
Hmm.
They inflate the prices
Yeah.
because they have such a hard time getting paid from the insurance companies and stuff.
Hmm.
So it doesn't have to be what it is.
Hmm.
It it's just everybody has been kind of programmed to think that they need to have insurance and they need to have, the best
Hmm.
health care and you need to go
Yeah.
to the doctor every 5 minutes or something. And
Yeah. Yeah.
I'm an herbalist, so I try to
Hmm.
stay. My doctor
Okay.
is a good friend of ours, and I
Hmm.
just tell him I'd rather go to the vet than come to you, the veterinarian.
Yeah. Yeah.
He laughs. Thanks a lot, Donnie. But he knows whenever I do come in, that it's serious, and he takes
Hmm.
me seriously. But
Yeah.
yeah, we do our best to just kind of stay away from
Hmm.
healthcare in general if we possibly can.
Yeah, I think that's the best way. And you would be considered as like an outlier of the society, right? Because you're not with the herd of the sheep,
Oh, definitely
right?
not. Yeah.
Yeah.
I'd
So,
be one of the black sheep.
yeah, definitely, because people would see you as a hillbilly or someone who is less educated, right?
Well, maybe
Because
not.
that's how we have been trained, right? Like
Yeah,
that's how we have
kind of.
been pushed to think about,
Yeah. Plus, I'm
for.
a conspiracy theorist, so that makes it
Mhm.
even worse.
That's okay. Like Joey Diaz, he said, like, I like people with some edge. If you say I don't like alcohol but I like cocaine, I'm with you. Like, like you need to have some edge.
To match.
Yeah,
Yeah,
people have become too domesticated, I would say. um
definitely. I've got Native American
mhm.
in me, and I would rather run around barefoot all the time.
Yeah.
I've got no desire to
Hmm.
have fancy stuff or an electric vehicle or anything like that. Um,
Hmm.
yeah.
Yeah, I mean, like, I was talking to another person from your country, right, from your motherland. And yeah, the conversation got heated, and I said, like westerners, right, they like to teach eastern countries how to be civil and how to be clean, when you wear the same boots that you wear to the toilet as to your bedroom. Like, and you're teaching me what sanitation? Like, how is that supposed to work?
It just doesn't make any sense.
Yeah.
Um, we've got a lot of people now, especially the younger generation, that's wanting to go back to the land
Hmm.
and starting to use, composting toilets. We used to call
Hmm.
that outhouses.
Yeah.
Um, wanting to build cisterns for water and do
Hmm.
water catchment and things like that. And
Yeah.
it just because it's easier and you're not paying a fee or taxes or fees
Hmm.
on it doesn't mean it can't be just as clean and just as healthy, if
Hmm.
not more
Yeah.
so, you
Yeah,
know.
definitely, because I see this movement of homesteading and being responsible for your food, and I like it to a great extent, because I feel like, the more domesticated and even like an animal gets, right, it starts to depend on systems,
Yes.
right? Like, you look at horses. I always give out this example to my peers, that you look at horses. We rode those horses to battle, like, not even 100 years ago, right? And today they need warmers, they need temperature controlled rooms, they need perfect diet.
We can't put pictures of our horses online
Hmm.
because people will get upset
Yeah.
because they don't have a blanket on, or
Hmm.
us riding our horses because we don't wear helmets, and
Hmm.
a lot of times we don't use saddles. we
Hmm.
we ride them bareback with just a
Yeah.
rope,
Hmm.
and
People would
people,
hate you. Yeah.
they can't understand that. Yeah, they
Yeah.
absolutely cannot understand that.
Because I feel like people see horses as like cars, right? Like, it has to be in a perfect color, in a perfect environment, and it should not have any rust. I think it's it's become the same thing with horses. And
Yeah,
the more I see those things, I get frustrated, because I'm like, that horse used to be a true animal before you captured it. Now it's just like, just living its life, right, without any purpose. Because I'm pretty sure most of the horses do not serve any purpose. They're just show ponies, right?
yeah. Hmm.
And that's what humans are becoming. Like, we are becoming domesticated, therefore we need more systems to involve and protect us.
Hmm.
you know for the great a god. I don't know whose god is true, but you know, we have not had a dangerous like famine, right, in recent years. And I, because I am heavily involved with food and agriculture, and India is truly like world's food basket. I see that even if like probably two drought seasons, right, like two irregular rain seasons, that's it. Like probably 40 to 50% of the food chain that today exists would dissolve immediately.
Mhm.
And it's sad to see people do not understand how their food is processed
Yeah.
and where it comes from. People don't understand that, right? People, I think so, I saw somebody on YouTube saying they were 16 years old until they realized that you need to grow grains. They thought it was manufactured. And I was like, could you imagine how sad is that lifestyle?
Yeah,
I
oh,
mean,
I can't imagine. I can't
yeah.
imagine. I've lived on a farm and a ranch all my life,
Hmm.
and that's where horses have a purpose, you
Yeah.
know, and they live out on the field when they're
Hmm.
not working, and they're happy with that.
Yeah.
They're happy to get up to work,
Hmm.
and they're happy to be out in the field doing nothing, just
Yeah.
taking care of themselves. And
Hmm.
same way with the cattle, now
Yeah.
we're uh, city people are scared of cattle gas. And
Yeah.
I'm
Yeah.
just like, oh,
Yeah.
oh my goodness,
Hmm.
and they don't understand. They haven't bottle fed a
Hmm.
baby calf from,
Yeah.
birth and raised it up.
Hmm.
And yeah, growing your own, and you can grow your own food just in your kitchen window. I try to tell people it doesn't
Yeah.
matter where you're living. you know Grow some sprouts.
Hmm.
That's about the easiest thing. It's in a jar. You can do it in your
Done
kitchen
it up,
window.
but it's revolutionary. You cannot ask people to do that.
I do. I get some of them mad at me whenever I do too, but
Yeah. 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 I think that's the sad scene of today's world where a conscious person is seen as an outcast.
yeah, yeah,
I
common
mean,
sense just
yeah,
doesn't
because
fit
yeah,
anymore.
if
It
me
is
and you
more
had
though.
this conversation like out in public, people would probably see us as like outliers, as outcast or hippies, right? Because you're talking about growing food, you're talking about animals. Oh my god, how uncivilized is that?
We have people in the United States now, though, that are craving that. And people in the towns and the cities buying chickens. And sometimes they're raising them in their house and
Yeah.
getting so excited whenever they
Hmm.
get their first egg, you know,
Yeah.
and starting to do like kitchen gardens or tower gardens and
Hmm.
just little bits and wanting to get more
Hmm.
down to basics.
Yeah.
The cities are fighting it though.
Hmm.
They're trying to
Yeah.
tell them you can't have more than this many chickens, and
Hmm.
some of the areas in town will tell them they can't have a garden and things like that. You can't catch
Yes.
rainwater, and it's like,
Yeah.
why? That makes
Yeah.
no sense.
Hmm.
But they're wanting,
I mean, how dare you be self-sufficient,
yeah.
right? Like, why did we build this trillion-dollar, mega industry? Like, do you think was that for fun?
Yeah, they've tried for years. For the last 30 years, they've been trying to get everybody in America to buy
Hmm.
everything in their house to be
Yep.
electric. So,
Yep.
electric hot water heater, electric
Yeah.
washer, dryer,
Hmm.
everything needs to be
Electric
electric.
toothbrush.
And then they tell them that they need to try not to use the
Hmm.
electric, because you're using too much electric. And then they
Yeah.
jack up the prices and stuff. And I'm like, why
Mm.
did you guys do this in the first place? It never made any sense.
Yeah, because they thought they could get away with it.
Yeah, and they did for the most part. I mean, we've
Yeah.
had some ice storms in
Hmm.
Texas and Oklahoma the last few years where
Yeah.
they had to turn off the electric. They were
Hmm.
forced by non-government agencies to turn
Mm-hmm.
off the electric, and people die,
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
and people don't understand,
Uh-huh.
what the problem is. A lot of times
Yes,
they're starting to wake up.
exactly. Mm-hmm. Exactly. Because I feel like Americans talk a lot about freedom, and that's a bit rich from coming from Americans, because America is not a country. I feel like it's more of a trip hazard. Like you take one step wrong and you fall into I don't know, too much trouble, I would
You're
say.
either going to get taxes, you're going to get fees, or you're going to, yeah.
Yeah, or they're going to ask you to follow their rules.
Yeah, I mean, there are so many,
Mm-hmm.
and different parts of America have worse than
Yes,
other parts. We're
definitely.
pretty blessed
California.
where we're at. Yeah, California. Anybody living in California at this point, and I do have some friends over there, and I'm like, I'm so sorry.
Yeah, yeah,
But
yeah.
here in Oklahoma, I can still build a fence wherever I want to build a fence. I can still
Mm-hmm.
build a building wherever I want to build a building. I can
Yeah.
drill my own water well. I can put in an
Mm-hmm.
outhouse if I want to. There are other parts of America that you can't do that, but
Yes.
that's not most of America. The
Yeah.
East Coast and the West Coast are
Mm-hmm.
stupid.
Yes.
I love you guys, but that's the way it is. And
Yeah.
most of them are trying to move out of there. So we've
Mm-hmm.
got people from California that live here now, and we've
Yeah.
got people from over New Jersey, New York area that
Mm-hmm.
are living out here now. So people
Yeah.
are trying to get away from that.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I think there's a valid reason for that, right? Like they don't want to be taxed to infinity,
Yeah.
right? Because I feel like today's taxation system, because I studied commerce, so I know what I'm talking about when it comes to economics, right? And today's a regular citizen, it is indeed taxed to infinity.
It is, and a lot of people don't realize how many taxes we actually pay because
Yes.
we pay taxes and fees, which are
Mm-hmm.
taxes. If it's a fee from the government, it's a tax, and we
Mm-hmm.
have to have licenses for almost
Yes.
everything.
Yeah.
You practically have to have a license to wipe your bottom when you go to the bathroom.
Mm-hmm.
So it's just about
Yeah.
gotten that bad. But
Yeah.
yeah, we have for our electricity, for our fuel, for
Mm-hmm.
our heating, everything
Yeah.
has
For
got
your land,
taxes. Yeah,
right?
I
For your
mean,
houses,
yeah, and
what you eat, what you drink, or probably what you breathe.
everything
Um,
you buy,
yeah.
everything you own after you
Hmm.
buy it, and then when
Yeah.
you sell it, you get taxed all the way through.
Yeah. Yeah.
You get taxed when you die, death
Hmm.
taxes,
Yeah.
inheritance taxes.
Hmm.
Yeah, it's ridiculous. I agree
Hmm.
with you. We're ready to move. Is India taking?
Yeah, India does have an uptick of Americans moving to India now, buying up farmlands and just being farmers. Because I feel like because in India, if you move away from cities, it's a very, I would say, natural approach to life. Like I have farmers in my own network that still use cattle for plowing or agriculture purpose, like bulls, right? And city people say, okay, that's animal cruelty, right? And then I ask them, okay, do you understand agriculture? Do you understand that the activity of plowing the seed, the soil, it does not happen 365 days a year.
Yeah, yeah, no, and a lot of the animals really
Yeah.
enjoy the work.
Mm-hmm.
Really, it's like getting
Yeah.
out and gardening. Some people really enjoy gardening.
Mm-hmm.
Some of the animals just really enjoy. I talked
Yeah.
to because I've got a magazine,
Mm-hmm.
and I had a vegetarian from up
Mm-hmm.
in Kansas or up
Mm-hmm.
in Canada
Mm-hmm.
who subscribed to the magazine, and she said, "Well, I really love this magazine, but there was one article, and it was about the beef industry."
Mm-hmm.
She said, I didn't really care for that, and I explained to her. I said, well, when a cow has a calf, you
Mm-hmm.
don't know if she's going to have a boy calf or a girl calf, you know?
Yeah.
And if she has a boy calf, if you got a bunch of cows and they have a bunch of boy calves, you can't just let them grow up
Yeah.
because they're going to fight. A bunch of
Mm-hmm.
bulls, they'll kill each other. They'll
Mm-hmm.
be mean. So
Mm-hmm.
you have to do something with those. And we turn them into steers. We castrate
Mm-hmm.
them. We turn them into steers, and then something needs to eat them
Yeah.
because that's just how, you just can't let them just keep going.
Mm-hmm.
So they have to serve a purpose. So it doesn't matter if they're turned into, dog food or people food or whatever, but it has to, this is just part of the cycle of life.
Mm-hmm.
And once I explained that to her,
Mm-hmm.
she's like, oh, and I said this
Mm-hmm.
particular article was about beef labeling laws in the United States
Mm-hmm.
because import beef can be labeled as American raised beef, and people
Mm-hmm.
don't know what they're buying a lot of times at the grocery stores.
Mm-hmm.
And I, explained that to her, and it was enlightening for her.
Mm-hmm.
And
Yeah.
just, I respect if you're a vegetarian and
Yes. Like
that's how
me. Yeah.
you want to live. Yeah.
Yeah.
But it helps to understand that these
Mm-hmm.
animals, if they're left to their own, they'll kill each
Yeah.
other.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
So if we're gonna, keep a nice balance with them, then we have to be conscious
Yeah.
of what's going
But
on.
don't I also feel like that imbalance comes from domestication,
A lot of it does. A
right?
lot of what we've got
Because
out
over
here.
here we have like goshalas, like that's like, I would say, animal farms, but they're not into killing cows or bulls. They are rather into protection of local breeds. Because in India right now the problem is, um, people are importing cows for milk rather than protecting the local breed, because cow is
Yeah,
not supposed to give you enough milk, right? It's not for commercial purpose. Cow never said come loot me, right? But so people are importing like Holstein and jerseys. um so the
and
problem is,
they're not
yeah,
natural to yours. See, that's what they did in
exactly.
America. They killed all the buffalo. Well,
Hmm.
buffalo meat is much more nutritious
Hmm.
than the domesticated cattle that they've imported.
Yeah, but I also feel like if people had to find their own food, there would be less meat eaters in the world.
Oh
Because
yeah. The Native
honestly,
Americans didn't eat meat every day.
yeah, I mean, it's just the meat industry that has given us this false hope of meat is the main course. I'm like, yeah, you are just dumb, dude. Like,
It's never been throughout history. Meat has never
yeah.
been. It's
Hmm.
only been a main course for the
Hmm.
very rich.
Exactly.
And there's a place in the Bible where a guy named Daniel was
Hmm.
taken over to Babylon, and him and his friends didn't want to eat the king's food, and they said, "Hey,
Hmm.
give us 10 days on just vegetables and grain."
Hmm. Yeah.
And they looked better than the other kids,
Hmm.
and ended up being wise men in the
Yeah.
kingdom,
Hmm.
because they kind of drew the line. It's like, no, we're not going to eat these rich meats
Hmm.
all the time. This isn't clean.
Hmm.
And yeah, people need to. I think we have a lot to learn
Yeah.
from ancient days
Hmm.
and going back and seeing why they did what they did and how they did
Hmm.
it, you know?
Yeah. Yeah. I also feel like people should be taught how their food is produced. If you eat chicken, like, maybe kill a chicken and see how it feels, right?
Yeah, yeah, do it yourself. Exactly.
Exactly.
Uh-huh.
That's why I have like a lot of respect for those people who hunt, right? Because they hunt an elk and they eat it for like 6 months, 8 months, because that's the value of the meat, right?
Mhm.
And here we have people who are just wasting food. And I
Yeah,
feel like wasting food comes from a point of view where they feel like food is abundant, which is the most dumbest thing in the world.
yeah. I mean, food is abundant if you look at it
Yeah.
right,
Mm-hmm.
but we're picky. we've been trained to
that's
be
that's
picky.
my that's my thing. Like
Yeah,
you cannot be, there's a saying like beggars can't be choosers, right?
right.
And humans are indeed beggars of food, because the nature decides to increase the temperature by 4 to 5 degrees Celsius, right? Like a lot of plants die. So it's like we are really
Hmm.
sensitive, and people don't understand that,
Yeah. Well,
right?
that's why we go by Fahrenheit instead of Celsius.
Yeah.
It doesn't sound that bad.
What's with Americans obsession with having like weird metrics? Like, why do you want ounces? Like, why do you want pounds? Like, miles? Like, why do you need all these weird measurements?
Everything in America is laid out in square miles, basically. And it's like it's just it was laid out that way. I think a lot of it, I mean, I'm a conspiracy theorist, right? So I think a
Hmm.
lot of it was laid out that way before white people even got here.
Hmm.
That's debatable, of course,
Hmm.
but you know,
I feel like Brits did that to you just to mess with you.
it could be, and to separate us from the rest of the world. It's
Yeah.
something to make us feel like we're better than everybody else.
Yeah, exactly.
And
Because you see, like, a kilogram is like 1,000 grams. It's that simple. There
yeah,
is there
yeah,
is
it
no
is.
like mental calculation, right? 1,000 meters is 1 kilometer.
But isn't that British? What was it there
Yes,
before the British came over? How did you guys measure?
we have had weights dating back to when Europeans were literal chimps.
I'm not
Yeah.
going to argue. I'm seriously not going to argue. I did
So,
the temples that you guys have got and the
hmm,
carvings. Nobody
yeah,
else in the world has made those.
exactly. And
I mean,
people
some of
people
that
dare
is
to say
so
that,
out of like whole
um,
cities out of bedrock.
yeah, and our civilization, right? Like the Indus civilization, and I hate that word Indus because it's just not Indian word, right? Um, they found pumping of water, right? So water going from a lower altitude to higher altitude without using any mechanisms, and they found private toilets,
Hmm.
believe it or not. Right? How dare they, right? Because Greeks are supposed to be the beacon of democracy and civilization.
They were
um,
running around half naked, and
yeah, and they were wiping their butts with a public sponge, like,
I know, yeah, I
yeah.
just in the big
Hmm.
public baths, and
Yeah.
it's
So,
just cringy to
mhm.
think.
Exactly, because like, because, and I think that's why m- probably Indians hate a lot of Westerners, because Westerners are just like, I don't know, smelling some different gas, I would say, because their own travelers, right? Like Western travelers came to India and they had described India as something that they could not find anywhere else, meaning in terms of technology or just in terms of flourishing. Um, and Westerners do not read that, and they still feel like, like Indians are snake charmers. And I'm okay with it, right? Because glorifying is not like India's thing. People don't like to glorify here. I mean, if you look at our scientists, if you look at them, you would say, if I told you he was a vegetable seller, it would be okay. Yeah, he looks like that, right? But these people are the people who are getting us to space, and they have given us nuclear weapons and lot of things and capabilities that otherwise you would not have, right? I mean, if you look at Satya Nadella, right, he's the CEO of Google. And if you look at him, he wears that American uh, sweater, you know the turtleneck sweater, right, which is the
Uh-huh.
trademark American sweater. He wears that, but if you ask him to remove it, he's probably like, if I told you like he works in Apple, like, as a software engineer, you'd be like, yeah, he looks like that. So what I'm trying to say is, like we don't like to glorify a lot of things.
Yeah,
And
but I mean, I feel like you guys have almost hidden
hmm,
stuff, and I don't know
yeah,
if it's y'all or if it was
hmm,
the British trying to hide what you had, but you
yeah,
guys had what? How do you say the Viama? How do you say it? Like the ships, the flying ships that
hmm,
you had carved
yeah,
on your. I mean, you guys had some pretty amazing
yeah,
technology
definitely,
way
because
back
there,
there.
yeah, we had an university called as Nalanda University, and it had like a great library, right? Like it was like an archive, and British burnt it, right?
Yeah.
And it burnt for 3.5 months,
Oh my goodness.
even when there was rain and everything. So and even till today there is remains of the university. And when you go to the ground, you can realize, okay, this was a big freaking thing. It was
Uh-huh.
very very big actually.
Yeah.
um, but fortunately, once that happened, people got together and they wrote down whatever they remembered, you know just to say, like, fuck you to Brits, like we started writing. We had an education system called as gurukulams, and Brits outlawed that. They said you have to go through Western education, which is absolutely dumb.
It's
um
ridiculous.
yeah, it's ridiculous. In India, it's very ridiculous because um lot
They
of
they
kids
made the
lot
Native
of kids kill
Americans do
themselves.
that here too.
Yeah, in
Yeah.
India the problem is a lot of kids kill themselves
Oh,
because they're not getting enough grades. And Indian education systems tests examinations are one of the toughest probably. And we have a public, like if you want to be a public servant, right, like you need to go through an examination, and that's the hardest examination in the world. Donata, just to give you an example, the question would be like, if I am walking at 10 kilometers per hour speed, what is the color of the apple? Like, absolute garbage questions. And
sounds like trigonometry to me.
yeah,
And I
by the
ate
way, that word comes from India, from Sanskrit,
mhm,
trigonometry. It's called
mhm.
as trigonometry, and it became trigonometry.
I
um
I believe it. I
so
a majority of
yeah.
our stuff, if you go back far enough, comes
Hmm.
from Asian. A
Yeah,
lot of
yeah,
Asian.
yeah. So that's what, like, so when people don't score enough, right, because of peer pressure. And in India, it's seen like, if you're not, you could be a big star like Donata, you could be like, I don't know, Tom Cruise. But if you're not educated, meaning if you don't hold a degree or a master's, you are seen as just like, okay, so what, like he's famous but he doesn't have any degree. Because for the
Right.
elder generation, a degree was seen as a safety net.
Right.
Like, let's say I studied a degree, then I went and did OnlyFans, let's say it did not work out. Okay,
Yeah.
I can get a job. Like, that's the assumption.
Yeah, yeah. Well, here in America, going to university
Hmm.
has become more important than anything else.
Yeah.
So young people come out of university with
Hmm.
huge debts because it costs way
Yes.
too much for what they're doing.
Yeah.
And then they can't get a job. Or they find out that their
Hmm.
chosen profession, they hate it. And
Yes.
they're miserable.
Yeah.
And that's just yeah. We homeschooled our
Hmm.
children,
Yeah. Hmm.
and we have not encouraged them to go to
Hmm.
university.
Hmm.
We feel like learning to live with the land and living a more common sense life just makes
Yeah.
more sense.
Hmm.
If one of them had really wanted to go, then we would
Hmm.
have helped them work their way through,
Hmm.
without
Yeah.
any debt.
Hmm.
But none of them have seen a need. And our
Hmm.
oldest is an author.
Hmm.
She's written published books,
Hmm.
and they've done different things,
Hmm.
and uh, they're very successful in their own way,
Hmm.
and we continue to learn.
Yeah.
What you're fed at
Hmm.
university, intellectually fed,
Hmm.
compared to
Yeah.
what you can actually learn in things
Yeah.
that you're interested in,
Hmm.
are different things.
Yeah, exactly. um I don't know who said, like, if you want to choose an industry, choose food, because it's never out of fashion.
Yeah, I mean, shelter, I mean, the things we need, water,
Yeah.
shelter, and food, right? Those
Mm.
are the most
Yeah.
important things. So if you know how to,
Mm.
drill a well, or catch water, do a water catchment system, if you know
Hmm.
how to build a shelter of some sort,
Yeah.
and if you know how to grow or forage your own food,
Hmm.
then you've got it made, really.
Yeah, exactly. Like, then you become a corporation's ultimate villain, right?
Yes.
Because they don't like you, because they're like, dude, why are you growing your own food? Like, we were supposed to do that. I keep telling people, right? Like, people think food is something that they take it for granted. I say, okay, now you believe tech is the next big thing, right? And they say yes. And I say, okay, I was born in 96, right? And the minute I was born, you know, people have been saying the same thing. The tech is the next big thing. And tech has a lot of verticals, right? Like, it has grown so much. Okay,
Hmm.
if tech was the truly the pillar of the society, right? Then why do you have someone like Bill Gates patenting hundreds of seeds? Like, why is that a matter? Like, he
And
should not do that.
up,
Buying up
buying
land.
land.
Yeah,
Yeah.
and
It,
artificially inducing
land.
fires in cities.
And for, I mean, for thousands of years,
Hmm.
land ownership has
Yeah.
been the sign of wealth.
Hmm.
Land ownership,
Yeah,
not what kind of sneakers you're wearing, or
exactly.
what kind of bag you're
Hmm.
carrying, or belt you've got on, or what
What car do
initials.
you drive?
Yeah, I
Yeah.
I mean, I have no clue about any of that kind of stuff.
Hmm.
So, yeah. And I get so frustrated because,
Hmm.
with the food, like, I when the 2020 debacle hit, I was working at a newspaper,
Hmm.
and it was the only for full-time job I've ever had in my life. And it
Hmm.
was just kind of a God thing that I ended up in that job.
Hmm.
And I was horrified to see all the food that would get thrown away all the time. All the
Yeah.
meetings in the office and everything. We never throw food away here.
Hmm.
I it doesn't happen, because if we don't eat it, the animals can eat it. Chickens will eat
Yeah. Hmm.
anything.
Yeah.
But there's no reason
Hmm.
to throw food away. But it
Yes.
happened constantly.
Hmm.
And then we had homeless people walking in the streets. And
Hmm.
it's like, why? It
Yeah.
just makes no sense.
Hmm. Exactly. um I do a fun challenge with anybody like who's American, right? I say, go to your nearest shop, right? Even if it's a mom and pop shop or it's a big chain, right? Find me one imperfect vegetable or a fruit.
Imperfect.
Yes.
Okay. Well, we're in a very rural area, so
Hmm.
actually finding something perfect would
Yeah.
be unusual.
Hard. Yeah,
Yeah,
because you understand how food works.
right.
You probably are not an oxymoron, like, like someone lives in a city where they're like, I want a perfect apple all the time.
Yeah, no.
Yeah.
I don't even know what that would be. It
Hmm.
bothers me to buy things from
Yeah.
the grocery store that don't have
Hmm.
seeds.
Hmm. Yeah.
An apple that doesn't have seeds, or grapes
Yes.
that don't have seeds. They're not
Yeah.
right. It's
Hmm.
not it's not right.
It's not even right, but because I am into agriculture too much, I would say the amount of fall of nutrition that you get with hybrid fruits and vegetables is insane, because they have been bred to look good and smell good and taste good. That's all. They
Yeah.
don't have shelf life. They cannot fight with bacteria. They do not have enough
We've had
nutrition.
apples that we've bought that
Hmm.
have stayed looking exactly the way
Exactly the
they
same.
looked for
Yeah.
months. And I'm afraid to eat something like that. Give me
Yeah.
an apple with a worm in it.
Hmm.
I will just, if that worm
Yes.
likes that apple, that's got to be a good
Hmm.
apple. I'll
Yeah.
I'll let the worm have his little piece, and I'll eat the
Hmm.
rest of
Yeah, but people say you, right? They use a word. Oh my god, it's very you, right? Like, and I saw a girl who used the word you for soil, and I was like, I hope when you die you don't get buried. Like you go out to outer space, right, and just live there. Don't come back to Earth. Like we don't want that species right here, right? Like people hating soil. What next? Like you'll yeah, okay. Don't let me ask you this. Are you aware of this new trend that people are trying to drink water in America for the first time?
it. I wish it wasn't true. But yeah, they're trying to drink water. Yes. I have again, I'm unusual. I
Hmm.
Water is my main drink.
Why?
Um
Why?
I
Why? You should drink
I
alcohol, right? Because Americans fought so hard for prohibition,
we have
anti-prohibition.
goats, and I drink goat's milk, and
Hmm.
most Americans wouldn't even think twice about it.
Yeah,
They
because
would not
they would ask you, is it pasteurized? Does it
yeah.
come in a plastic can? Does it contain like microplastics? Like
No, it contains probiotics.
no, then I don't want it. Oh my god. Yeah, this new microplastic thing is also very scary.
It
Um,
is, and the fiberglass.
yeah.
Everybody's trying to get away from the oil. Oh, mean, terrible oil companies. And
Mm-hmm.
I live in I live in oil central. I've grown
Hmm.
up in the oil field,
Uh-huh. So
and
so can you confirm that oil comes from dinosaurs?
no, it doesn't.
Yeah.
We have
It's
oil
fossil
wells.
fuel, Donita. Come on. It's
We have
fossil
oil
fuel.
wells out here that are like 60 years old that
Mm-hmm.
are still pumping. They're not
Mm-hmm.
running out.
So
And
do
so
you mean do you mean there is a lot of oil there?
there is a lot of oil, and sometimes they get greedy and they take it out too fast, and it'll seem like it dries up, but they'll go back a couple of years later, and they can get oil out of it
How?
again.
How?
Well,
Do
the
you mean
dinosaurs just keep pooping, I guess.
I would say yeah, the
But people
land under
don't
you.
understand, because like the vegans, and
Mhm.
I have nothing against, living
Oh,
a
I
vegetarian,
hate vegans.
but
I
they
hate vegans
want to wear
openly.
their vegan leather. And I'm
Hmm.
like, but don't you understand that's made out of petroleum? Plastic is petroleum. If it's not real leather, it's
Yeah.
petroleum.
I mean you just killed like two dinosaurs right there.
I Yes, exactly. And they're electric cars, they think they're
Yeah.
doing a great thing for the environment with the electric cars or the wind turbines.
Hmm.
And I'm like, "Do you have absolute yeah, think of all the dinosaurs you're killing for these things."
Yeah, think of the amount of T-Rexes you're killing on a regular basis.
And I
Like
try to ask them, those blades are huge. It takes 2
yeah.
semi trucks to
Uh
carry those blades sometimes.
mhm.
I'm like, "Where do they put those when they break? What trash do they
Oh,
fit in? Where do they
okay.
go when they
But
break?"
by the way, Donita, it takes around 450 years for them to decompose
I
the
wonder if they'll
wings.
decompose that
So
fast.
what they're doing is they're
You know
burying
how
it in
deep the
deserts.
cement is for those? It's
Yeah.
terrible. The amount of water that is wasted
Hmm.
to build that cement foundation for those
Yeah.
things.
Hmm.
And they'll say, "Oh, the cows like it because they like to stand in the shade of the wind generator." I'm like, "Guys, a tree
By the way,
natural
hmm
is a natural thing, and
uh-huh.
the the moisture in the leaves of the tree causes a natural air conditioning for the animals that are
But
standing
you're a
in.
hippie, Donata. Come on, you cannot give that statement.
Well, I
Only wind
tried.
turbines can give you
They
shade.
wouldn't let me put it in the newspaper. So
Yeah, definitely, because you are anti-industry. Come on, you're anti-industry complex.
I'm not anti-industry.
You
Like I
are.
said,
You are.
I'm pro
I
oil
mean,
company.
let's count, right? Like you drink your own goat milk, right? You
Yeah.
know, like you are independent. You grow your own food. There
Somebody
has to be
has
something
to
wrong with
make
you.
the glass jars
Hmm.
for me. That takes an industry to make the glass jars.
Yeah.
The terracotta pots that I
Hmm.
use for planting things in. I need somebody to make those for me. There
Hmm.
is plenty of room for industry within what I do. Um,
But you would be dependent on yourself.
well, and I don't think we're ever I don't encourage self-sufficiency
Uh
because
huh.
I feel like that creates overwhelm
Hmm.
for people to
Hmm.
try to become self-sufficient. I
Hmm.
encourage God's sufficiency.
Hmm.
And I realize not every all of your listeners may not be Bible believers, but
Hmm.
whatever scriptures you go to, whatever history and background that you have, all the
Hmm.
ancient people
Hmm.
believed in a creator who would
Yeah.
help them along. You
Hmm.
know, and if we can rely on those natural resources that were
Hmm.
provided for us,
Hmm.
and be sufficient with those and help those be sufficient for us.
But
If
that does not work, right? In today's world. In today's world, you see, one person wants at least like 10 cars, like one Porsche, one BMW, one Mercedes, one Rolls Royce. Yeah, probably one Hellcat,
yeah,
and
I
every
mean,
woman wants like 10 Gucci bags, even though it's child labor. You know,
I make my own bags.
how dare you? In
Yeah,
the word of Greta Thunberg, right? How dare you?
how dare I? Yeah, I make my own bags. I make some of my own clothes.
Yeah,
Um,
you cannot do
yeah,
that. You cannot
I
do that.
and we're losing creativity because
Why do you
people
need creativity though? You
that
have to ask yourself that.
I think that it
Hmm.
helps. Everybody nowadays is talking about self care and taking care of themselves, but they don't. They don't. They don't take time
Yeah.
to rest. They never rest. They don't take time to be creative. That's the
Hmm.
best self care that you can have. Is
Hmm.
take time to slow down, rest, and make something, create something, weave a
Donata,
basket.
today's self-care is about applying a ton of makeup, okay, and
Yes,
then having a
and all
skincare
your
routine.
perfumed things and going
Yeah.
to somebody to have, chemicals put on your
Uh-huh.
fingernails and
Yeah,
stuff. Yeah.
and then having a skincare routine to take care of your skin that you just murdered like probably like 6 hours ago, and you do that cycle every day. Okay, that's self-care. What you're describing is just regular life.
It's common sense because people
Which
are
is so
covering
uncommon.
themselves in toxicity. I mean,
Oh yes.
they're talking about toxic attitudes and
Mm-hmm.
toxic masculinity and
Yeah.
whatever, but they don't understand that
Mm-hmm.
it's their mindset
Yes.
and how they're not even questioning what they're
Mm-hmm.
doing.
Yeah.
If I'm going to put lotion on, I'm going to
Mm-hmm.
question what are the ingredients in this lotion? Why do I need
Mm-hmm.
this lotion?
Yeah.
Am I needing hydrated? Why am I needing hydrated?
Mm-hmm.
Uh, we
Yeah.
should be questioning a lot more.
Donata, people have gone soft. Okay, so you cannot be that harsh on them. They cannot think.
I'm a cowgirl, so you can't tell me not to be harsh. I'm just,
Yeah, but like people have become inhuman to certain extent. I see people crying that people put bad comments on social media. I'm like, okay, that really does not affect you. I'm sorry to
when
pop
the
your
last
bubble.
presidential election was, we had students in campuses, university
Hmm.
campuses, curled up in
Hmm.
lawns and
Hmm.
parking lots, bawling like babies.
Yeah, that's your future, Donata. Deal with it.
Well, I raised my future. My
Yeah.
children know better.
Hmm. Yeah. I would say Indians also, because our parenting system is very different. There is a lot of chops and slaps and belts and shoes, right?
And shoes, the shoes.
So, yeah. So you better behave. You
I
better
spanked
behave.
my
Yeah.
children. I
Uh-huh.
did.
Oh, yeah.
And some children don't need very many spankings.
I feel like all children do at certain point of time,
And I had
because
one.
that's very natural, right? Like if you look at a lion, when a lion cub starts to mature, the first thing it does is the challenge the authority.
Mhm,
Challenges it, its father or the leader of the herd, sorry, of the school, right? And
yeah.
says, okay, are you still capable of leading, or do I take care,
Mhm.
like do I take action? And that's what young folks do, right? you
Yep.
know they challenge
They
authority. That's why
challenge
young people
the
don't like
boundary.
police. Yeah,
Yeah.
they don't like elders, because they're like, I'm going to challenge you because I'm powerful than you, because they realize that they're invincible at
I
certain
think
age.
they need to know, especially when they're younger, it's comforting to know somebody else is in control.
Yeah.
Because if you think that you're in control of something and you
Mm-hmm.
know that you don't have it all together, because
Yeah.
face it, none of us do, right?
Mm-hmm.
And we all know it's nice to know somebody else has control. I think that's why faith, so many people tend to lean on faith,
Yeah.
because believing that somebody else has control.
Mm-hmm.
So I think that's more why children will
Mm-hmm.
test their parents, because
Exactly.
they want to know that somebody other than them has control.
Yes. Yes. Yeah, I think do you know Caesar Milan, the dog guy?
Yes, yes.
Yeah. He always says that humans are the only species on this planet that, like, choose unfit leaders.
Yeah.
If you look at Brandon, like you were Uncle Sam's president, like that's very
He's not mine. He's not mine. The other guy isn't either. I'm gonna vote in some drunk from the bar or something
yeah.
instead.
Donita did, like you know I think in April, we are also having our elections, right, for the central government, like for the federal government, for your knowledge. We have an option called as nota. So if you don't like any candidate, you can press nota. Nota is like none of the above.
Yeah, we can too. We can too.
And if it reaches like 20% nota, then the standing candidate cannot stand again.
Really?
Yeah.
Wow.
So if 20% of people say I don't like Trump or Brandon, um if 20% of people say that, then they cannot run for next candidacy, like they cannot be
I
running
think
for
if
the election.
Americans actually stood up and
Hmm.
everybody put in a blank ballot this
Yeah.
next time,
Hmm.
it would wake some people up
Hmm. I
in
don't think so,
Washington, D.C. I,
because
I'm not saying that it would make a big change.
lobbying exists, right?
Oh, yeah.
So
And
so
it's not just lobbying at that
mhm.
level. They lobby here. And we
Yeah.
have professional propagandists
Yes,
who
yes.
go around to
Yeah.
small town meetings and stuff,
Hmm.
talking to people.
Yeah.
I'm been pretty outspoken against them whenever they
Hmm.
come around.
Yeah.
They don't like me.
Definitely, definitely. Okay, I'll ask you one question, Donata. Do you know who is the most successful stock trader in the world?
Stock trader?
Yeah, like, like shares and stock market. Do you know who is the most successful trader ever to exist?
Well, I'd say BlackRock, but I think they're all owned by the American government and
Right?
the CIA.
It's Nancy Pelosi.
Really,
Yeah,
I, I'm not surprised necessarily, but
she has multiplied her wealth by 623 times.
oh my goodness.
Yeah. So, Donata, I ask you to be a congressman.
You ask me to.
Yeah, you just run for congressman, right? Then I will sell everything I have. I'll give you the money. You start trading.
Okay, okay. Well,
So
if we
you,
can get
so what you
about a
become is,
million more of you to do that, then
yeah.
I'll do it.
I mean, at the end of the day, right? You are a trader, part-time congressman. You're not a full-time congressman. You're a full-time trader, part-time congressman. That's all.
Oh my goodness. Yeah, and
Yeah.
used to they were supposed to be statesmen, and they
Mm-hmm.
were only supposed to spend a few months
Yeah.
doing what they were doing, and then come
Yeah.
back home to their farms.
Mm-hmm.
You know,
Yeah. But
and
that's a very dangerous thought. What you're giving, because
I'd
um,
like to see Brandon try to farm.
yeah,
I or
yeah.
Pelosi, either one. Yeah.
Right now we
Would
have a
you like to
problem
see
in
him out
India,
there
right?
with his cows?
Yeah, here we have something called as electoral bonds. So that's like companies would buy those bonds and fund, the political campaigns, right? And the Supreme Court said, okay, not okay.
Yeah.
Like, so before this it was all private, like, like the details were not public, so nobody knew who was funding which political campaigns, right? So now with electoral bonds, Supreme Court said, okay, you can still buy electoral bonds, but now all the information has to be public, from who bought it, how much uh, they bought it, and to whom did they give the bonds. And now it's just mayhem, because people are absolutely going at each other, because they're like, okay, like, you are getting too much money. And those companies are being boycotted by people, any company that's involved in politics, because in
That's what we
India,
need
right?
to do more of. That's
Yeah,
what we
but
need to do more
but
of.
the principal difference between Americans and Indians is Indians don't like laws. They absolutely hate it.
We don't like it, but we've got too many people that don't understand what it is,
Hmm.
you know?
Yeah, in India it's like this, right? If you say don't park your vehicle here, people are going to park exactly there.
Well, we have some of those too. They're called cowboys.
Hmm. Yeah. So I would say India has majority cowboys, because
Okay.
we just don't like laws. I don't know why.
Yeah.
um
We don't either. And America has
mhm.
way too many. You know,
Yeah.
that library you were
Hmm.
talking about,
Yeah.
um, we need to throw out our laws
Hmm.
and resurrect libraries like that.
Yes, because I don't know which scholar said it. They said the first indication of a dictatorship is access and control over people,
Oh.
like Canada, right?
Oh my goodness. Well, and all of our presidents,
Mm-hmm.
most of our presidents have been related to the royal family. They're
Mm-hmm.
they're all in, the British royal family. So
Is it?
they're all related. It's all the same basic thing. The
Is it?
Federal Reserve is
Wow.
not American at all.
Mm-hmm.
So our money isn't American money. It's European money. It's owned by the
Yeah.
European banks.
Mm-hmm.
Um, so a majority of America isn't really America anyway. And the Americans, we're starting to realize that.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, I think my generation of Americans are probably getting to understand that the land of dreams was really a propaganda.
Yes, it was. We had, when after World War One, we had the Great Depression, and out here we had the Dust Bowl where I'm at.
Mm-hmm.
And those families, they
Mm-hmm.
said, I want things to be better for my children than they were for
Yeah.
me.
Yeah.
And then the next generation said, they moved to town and they said,
Mm-hmm.
I want things to be better for my children than they were for me. And then they moved
Mm-hmm.
to the city.
Yeah.
But those little old ladies that lived through the Great Depression,
Mm-hmm.
they would tell me about their families, and they'd
Mm-hmm.
say, we lived in this little shack.
Yeah.
And she said things were hard, but they were
Mm-hmm.
good times. And they'd
Yeah.
have sparkles in their eyes,
Mm-hmm.
remembering the
Yeah.
memories of their families being together
Mm-hmm.
and working hard and surviving those
Mm-hmm.
times. And the kids nowadays don't have that.
Yes. Yeah. I feel like, because they were sold a very wrong dream. They were
What?
sold a fantasy land, right, by their
Yeah.
parents, because
What is better than living with the land?
yeah.
Wanting a better life for your children, it's
Hmm.
not that that's wrong, but what is wrong with your
No,
life?
I feel like over optimism has destroyed civilizations, and that's what's happening right now. Because when I was a kid, if I said anything, right, I wanted to become something, they would say, okay, then you'd have to work hard. I was not fed the bullshit, thankfully, of you can do anything, because no, you cannot do anything. I literally challenge
That
people.
has backfired on us in America now.
Yeah, yeah, that's
You
what, like,
can do
now.
anything and you can be anything. If you want to be a kitty cat, you can be a kitty
Yeah,
cat. Or
yeah.
so
And
here
now
here's
people are
your
being,
cat hip
you know
whiskers.
equestrians and freaking birds. I'm
It
like, yeah. And that's, I think that's a result of over optimi or over being over optimistic. Because the reality is you cannot pay everything. And
no, you can't be everything. You can't do
yeah.
everything. You can't. It causes stress
Hmm.
to try to put yourself beyond what you're capable of. You
Exactly.
know,
Yeah.
we have a lot of potential in
uh
us that
yeah,
was
but you
created.
cannot do everything
Yeah,
or anything.
there are limitations. So we
Yeah,
need to accept those limit and each person has different limitations and
exactly.
different
Hmm.
strengths and weaknesses.
Yeah.
And we should be teaching our children to, to go with,
Hmm.
build on your strength, build on your
Yeah.
weaknesses too. But,
Hmm.
you know, what's the purpose of going out in space?
Hmm.
I mean, what is the purpose?
So the
Spend
purpose is to build another
billions and
colony.
billions of dollars
Yeah. Yeah.
of other people's money so that you
uh
can do something that you wanted to do.
but I feel like, the space is like an obvious next step for humanity, because we already feel like earth is crowded, which is not.
It's not. It's
Yeah.
not. We've got
Because
lots of space.
yeah, right now there are a lot of scientists who are like alarming, and they're saying population collapse is a problem very soon.
They've talked a majority of young people in the United States into not having children,
Yeah.
and our
That's
population is
it, Donita.
declining.
Give them some time. Give them some time. Because this generation hasn't seen a war, they have not seen economic collapse, they have not seen any existential crisis, and
And they're
they have
fixing.
become cocky.
Yeah, they're fixing
So
too.
yeah, let Brandon rule for another 4 years. And I always use the word rule, because they rule. Let them rule for another 4 or 5 years. The Ukraine battle will be on your doorsteps, so then people will revert back to more.
We've got it right here, right now. Anyway,
Yeah.
with the open borders that he's
Hmm.
allowed,
Yeah.
it's
Hmm.
we're a powder keg
Hmm.
smoldering about ready to
Blow
explode
up.
here.
Yes. Yes.
America is fixing to get its due.
Hmm. Yeah,
And
because I always talk about this, that there's a fine line between pride, not the LGBTQ pride, but a human's pride, and arrogance. And I feel like United States in general has become cocky, because you see India is one of those few countries that have very good relation with both with United States and Russia. So we have very close relations. Back in 1971, when we wanted to test our own nuclear weapon, um, United States dispatched their, I think, 62% of their navy to destroy India, right? And they mixed up with China and other countries. And back then, if you look at the history, right, Russia was the one who stood up for us. They were like, okay, you bring nuclear, I bring nuclear, we both go kaboom, right? In a very primitive language. And Americans had to back off, because Russia stepped in. And it's not like Russia is our friend, but we have been trading partners since Europe did not exist. The.
something that I learned while I was working at the newspaper
Mhm.
was, no matter which side you are on.
Mm-hmm.
Left, right, red, blue,
Yeah.
green, purple, whatever. Most people
Mm-hmm.
want to help people. They want to help each other. They just disagree on how to do that.
Yes.
And it doesn't matter what country you live in.
Mm-hmm.
There are good people and there are bad people,
Exactly.
and all of them.
Mm-hmm.
And we need to realize that we've all got the same color of blood.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, Donata, one thing I can say is, like back in the days, right? Like back in 80s, 70s, even till today, humbleness is a very prevalent concept in our society, because people like, okay, be humble, don't be cocky, right? But I think I have figured out the key or the secret why India is like coming up with such a good progress is because we, my generation, and probably like anybody who was born after 80s, right, 1980s, they have become the generation of why nots. um
Asking questions.
yes, because like there was point when we used to bend over backwards and take it in the back for America, right? There have been situations where we have been stuffed. um, a lot of people don't know this, but India was a key member in founding, the United Nations. But because of, Uncle Sam, we did not get the permanent membership. When we do
But
have the
that might
largest
actually have been
democracy.
a good thing in the long run.
Yeah, definitely. When India is the largest democracy, India holds the most rigorous and the most um, highest number of elections, let's say. Right now we have around 120 million voters who are going to vote. And so the election is in like 7 phases. It's like 2 months, because every person has to vote. So that's, we have the most complex democratic system in the world. And what feels like for my generation at least is that we are not even like recognized. Like, okay, let's say you have 10 children in the house, and if you don't give attention to one child, right, one particular child, that child starts to feel like, it's invisible. And that child starts to act out, because it's like, okay, I am here, like, can you see me, like, am I visible, right? So the problem is of visibility. And yeah, and that's
And I
what
don't
America
think
is
they
like
want
finding
you
out.
guys to be visible. Nobody
Mhm.
wants you guys to be visible
Exactly,
because
because
there's too many things in India
yeah.
that don't fit the worldwide narrative.
Exactly.
You guys are an
Mainly the,
anomaly.
yeah,
You
yeah,
really are.
exactly. Yeah.
Kind of like South America. South
Hmm.
America is very, they've tried to make South America look very primitive.
Yeah.
And there's a lot in South America that is
Hmm.
anything but primitive,
Yes. Yes.
And
Yeah.
I think your generation over
Hmm.
here is also, they're starting to, what some of them are calling deconstruct
Hmm.
from the church and the
Hmm.
system,
Hmm.
and they're starting to question a
Yeah.
lot of things because the churches, no matter what church it is,
Hmm.
there's so many different ones. They're starting to question why the churches aren't
Yeah.
actually teaching the scripture,
Hmm.
you know and why they're not teaching the whole concept,
Hmm.
because all of the religions of the world have
Hmm.
connections with each
Yeah.
other,
Hmm.
and they've been trying to hide that.
Hmm.
And their your generation is really
Hmm.
starting to dig in and saying,
Yeah.
wait, we have a
Yeah.
connection with this and with
Hmm.
this and with this, and we haven't been taught that. and
Hmm.
then and then the school systems are
Yeah.
even worse, and they're starting to buck the system
Hmm.
in both categories, both
Yeah.
church and state, kind of
Hmm.
there. And I think that's good. I'm
Yeah.
all for it.
Yeah. Exactly. I mean, I feel like that's what is the thing that's going on even with India. Like, people don't really like other countries. And when white people get harassed in India, they are very loud. They're like, oh my god, I was harassed. I'm like, not my problem. Seems like it was fine like 200 years ago, right? Like, not even 200 years ago. um an Indian was not allowed in Indian places by British.
In America,
Yeah.
the Native Americans, we were called
Hmm.
Indians over here too, you know.
Yeah.
And we yeah,
You.
I mean they killed the full food supply.
Hmm.
They went through and just slaughtered the buffalo.
Yeah.
They
Yeah.
took the children away and put
Yeah.
them in their schools.
Yeah, and they gave
Yeah.
them warm blankets, right, for the cold nights.
It sounds a lot like what happened in 2020. Um,
Yeah. Yeah.
that also started with the Indians, actually. Here in
Hmm.
Oklahoma, this was Indian territory. This is where the Trail of Tears ended,
Hmm.
and where they brought most of the natives. They put them in Oklahoma,
Hmm.
and in 2019, they were testing the tests, the Merck in the
Mm.
United States. I'll get in
Mm.
trouble for saying this, but the
Exactly.
Merck
Yeah.
in the United States is the Native American medical
Hmm.
field,
Hmm.
and it is specifically they 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 experiment at the
Hmm.
Indian clinics on the Indians with this stuff. And
Yeah.
that whole vid thing, it wasn't created in China.
Hmm.
I've got the documentation. It was created at Harvard in the United States.
Hmm. I don't know how to feel about it, because there have been multiple times when CIA, or like secret agencies, have tested dangerous gases on their own people.
I over and
um
over and over again.
yeah, to see what was the result. And I'm like, yeah, you are not working on the good faith of people.
No.
You are
And
just
people
cocky
are
at this point, right?
starting to find out about it now because of the
Yeah.
internet and
Hmm.
because they can look up those documents and they can
Yeah.
see and they can actually read it.
Hmm.
The psychological warfare,
Hmm.
all of that has been used on
Yeah.
their own people.
And
Or
most of the like terrorist organizations has been created by CIA. Like,
yep,
it's not a secret, you know
Hollywood.
right? You look at Al Qaeda was created by CIA, like
Hmm.
as a funded program. And now when it backfired, they're like, okay, now we are gonna go drone innocent people,
Yeah,
because
and
you
every
happen to
time
be
they
in the
say
region.
they're going to stop doing something,
Hmm.
they just go underground with it.
Yeah. Yeah, like, I don't know who was that saying, but people think like Obama was a very good president. No doubt he might have been a good president, because he did 2 terms, right? He killed the most amount of people with the drone program, right? And when they asked, why are you killing civilians, he said it was collateral damage. Could you imagine United States? I don't think there has been an another country bombing United States in probably in the past like 100 years. I don't think so, because even World War II was away from the home. It was not in the home,
We did
right?
get one bomb. It landed in Oklahoma. It's
Mm-hmm.
still here. I think it was our own guys.
Oh, yes, yes, yes. That's there. That's there. Yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, there have
The
been
the
like
Civil
stories,
War,
right? Have you
I
heard
think
of it? Like stories of towns getting closed because they found radiation in the lake, because there was a bomb that just got dropped by mistake.
yeah. Yeah. We probably the Civil War in the 1800s was probably about the worst thing that we've done to ourselves. I mean, and that's probably
Hmm.
fixing to start happening again.
Yeah,
Yeah. I mean, nobody else has to attack us.
but Donita, this time who's going to fight? All young men are becoming, I don't know, for the lack of the word, like just like freaking soft people. Who's gonna fight? All they will do is they'll get together and debate,
The
maybe.
menopausal women are going to fight.
Yes. Yeah.
Actually, again, a majority of the United States is pretty savvy.
Hmm.
Um, and it's California
Hmm.
and the East Coast
Hmm.
that are the most problematic. Nearly everywhere
Cut
else,
them off. Cut them
the
off.
big cities are problems, and anybody with any common sense,
Donita, I
you
think
need
you I think you have a solution for that. Do
I
you know
do
what the solution is? Build a wall. Build a wall. That's your
build a wall.
solution.
Well,
Yes.
I think we need several walls. I think we need to build a wall around
Hmm.
Chicago.
Yeah.
We
So
just need to dig a
no,
big trench
I
and
think
send
you just build a
California
wall
the
coast to
ocean.
coast.
Coast to coast, the Great
Yeah,
Wall,
from
or
north to
the
south. Both sides.
we almost kind of need to just separate the middle. Well, everybody's saying with this eclipse that's coming up that
Hmm.
the San Andreas Fault is going to do something. So if that happens, then we may not
Hmm.
have any problems. That might take care of it for us.
Good, good, good that you have some solution. Even
Yes,
though
yes, yeah.
there
We're
is
just gonna
high.
wait for Mother
Yeah,
Nature to take care of it.
yeah, yeah. I think that's what you had to hope at this point of time, because there is not much that anybody could do.
Yeah.
Um,
I mean, I
but
don't I don't wish harm on anybody.
mhm. But
I'm willing to protect my family whenever
mhm.
it's needed, but
That's
I
all right, because I think that's all is needed, right, in one's life. Like, you there is a famous saying that I have as a wallpaper on my phone. It says, if it's you versus me, it's me every time. It's that simple, right? The world is that simple. Like, people can call math as racist, right? Like, mathematics is racist because it's fundamentally assumable or whatever it is. But 2 plus 2 will always be 4, right? So basics will always be basics. Fundamentals will never change. People might change, but I feel like, Russia would be laughing at a corner right now, because they
oh,
have hardened young people, willing to fight, and Americans have hardened young people who are willing to color their nails.
and I mean, they play football.
Donita, okay, okay, you're an American. Can you give me a clarity? What point of football, right, is football? Like, actual foot and ball, apart from the punting, what
There is a
else?
kick. There's a particular kick
Yes.
that's you know what? I hate football. So I have no
No, because
idea.
literally football is handball, right?
It
You
is.
just
It
carry
is.
it through hands.
You've got a good point. It's gladiator sports at a
It's a very boring sport.
ridiculous
I know
level.
people will talk shit to me, like, like, oh, or whatever. Like, American football is a boring sport, I feel
It
like.
is.
Because,
Of course, I'm not a big sports person.
Donata, I would urge you
If
to look into
if
rugby.
horses aren't involved, I'm not
Hmm.
interested.
Hmm.
So,
So I would urge you to look into rugby.
rugby.
Yeah.
Yeah, I've seen some of that.
And people think NFL is tough with all the armors and the freaking 100 pounds of sponges. Dude, rugby, they're almost naked.
Yeah.
Right? The amount of headbutts and the injuries that you see in rugby is insane.
Oh my goodness.
Like, I have seen, like, games being stopped in NFL because a player was hurt.
Uh-huh.
Okay. I urge people to look into England versus South Africa rugby final match. Like, in the field, right? There is a person injured here, and the doctor is treating him. The game is going on here. They don't even care that there's a
Keep
doctor on the
it
field.
going.
Yeah, the game keeps going on. you know so
Yeah.
yeah, I have few points for Americans, like, like, you call petrol as gasoline even though it's not gas. I don't know why you
There
people do
is
that.
gas. There is the natural gas that comes up. So you've got the crude oil and you have the
Hmm.
natural gas
Hmm.
and then you have the petroleum products that come out of
Yes,
it.
but
So
when you process the crude oil, you get petrol, you don't get
yeah,
gas, right? Because if it was truly a gas, you would not be filling it with a hose, I feel like.
that is true. That is true.
Yeah.
Oh my goodness.
Yeah. So yeah, definitely, Donata. Your people are very different. Um. Yeah, and I
For the
like
most
them.
part, that's okay. It's okay for the people of the world to be different. Variety is
Yes.
a good thing.
Yeah,
Uh,
variety is a good
but
thing. Yeah.
probably all of the people in the world
Mm-hmm.
need to have a common sense check. We
Mm-hmm.
probably all need to do that.
Yeah.
And people need to move out of the cities.
Mm-hmm.
There's not really that many people who are meant to be living in cities.
Yes.
Uh, cities should not be a permanent residence for most people.
Yeah.
It should be a place to visit and trade and go to market. People need to get back to the land, no matter where they're at
Mm-hmm.
in the world.
Donata, I live in a city called as Bangalore. So Bangalore is it's like Silicon Valley of India. But fortunately it is also known as the Garden City of India because we have trees everywhere, right? But somewhere along the point in early 2000s, this city was designed to be a 10-minute city. So are you aware of that concept of 10-minute cities?
Yeah, I mean, they're trying to do some 15-minute cities out here.
Okay.
It's
You're too
not
slow.
helping.
You're too slow.
Yeah, yeah. Well, I'm real slow because I'm 3 hours from
Hmm.
the nearest city,
Hmm. Good.
and
That's good for you.
that's not even a big city. Yes, it's very good for me. I like it
Yeah.
that way.
Yeah.
Uh,
Because the concept of 10-minute city is that every citizen needs to have access to food, shelter, water, and entertainment in 10 minutes.
I've got that. I
Yeah.
mean, I step outside the door and
Mhm.
I've got food, water, and the animals are as entertaining, and the children are as entertaining as it gets.
Yeah. Yeah. But, right now, like, I could order an iPhone 15 right now, and
Why would you want to?
like another 8 minutes, it could be delivered to my house.
Wow.
Like, I could order a TV, right? Like, I could order anything. Like, probably within 8 to 10 minutes, I could have it in my house. And that's the concept of 10-minute cities. People
I
don't step
and
out
in the
to shop.
90s, in the 80s and 90s, it took 68 weeks for something to get to
Yeah.
us,
Yeah.
and
That
we
too,
were
if you're
okay
lucky.
with that. It was anticipation. You were looking
Yes.
forward to it. You ordered something through the mail
Yeah.
and you were looking forward to it coming. And now everybody
Mhm.
wants things just,
Yeah.
snippety snap and
It's not even
instant.
snippety snap. Um, so if I can show it to you, can you see this app? Let
Yeah.
me just do some hard work. Yeah. So this is an app that you can order anything that you want from vegetables to electronics, right?
Wow. Yeah.
So anything that you can order here will even including jewelry, right? Anything that you order will be here in like 10 minutes. Not even 10. Probably like 8 minutes.
Wow.
They give you a 10-minute guarantee. Like if they can't deliver within 10, they will give it
I don't
to
even
you for
have
free.
a pizza place that delivers pizza out here.
That's the truth of today's like my city, and unfortunately that's a thing. I was just thinking, right? Like there is something called as impulse, right? Like you order something out of impulse, right? Imagine ordering in like an iPhone out of impulse and it's here. You cannot do anything. You cannot return it. You're just stuck with it, right?
Oh my goodness.
Yeah,
Yeah.
that's a situation that it's coming up to right now in my city, right? And this is not the only app. I got like four apps, like
Well,
four
I know I got an Amazon app. You can get a Walmart app, but I don't
yeah,
have
yeah.
it,
So similar to
And
that.
we can have some things like delivered the next day or two. I mean,
Hmm.
it usually takes a little bit longer out here because we are so far from
Hmm.
everything. But
Right now Amazon is doing like, for India they're doing like 30 minutes delivery. Like
really,
anything you order, 30 minutes it's here. And
yeah,
that's
and I still
dangerous.
can't get overnight stuff. So, and I'm okay
So
with that. I
mhm,
I I worry about people that get used to that kind of stuff and then expect it
mhm.
because if the grid goes down,
That's
what
it,
are they
done.
going to do? You
Done,
know,
they're done. There is no hope for them, because they don't know how to grow food. They don't know how to recognize even plants.
Yeah. That
Like,
makes me sad,
hmm,
because we go without electricity for 2 weeks at a time,
hmm,
off and on throughout the year, and we can live off grid.
hmm,
If we have a big snowstorm, it becomes a party at our house. We
hmm.
we enjoy it. We have fun, you
Yeah,
know.
because there is nothing else to do, right? Like, there is less distractions when there is no
Well,
electricity.
yeah, why not, make an adventure out of it,
Exactly. Yeah.
you know?
Yeah.
Um, even Bilbo in, The Hobbit,
Hmm.
he didn't enjoy the whole adventure, but, he
Yeah.
it was an adventure, and that it's
Hmm.
like not everything's going to be easy or fun, but
Yep.
you should look if your mindset is right,
Yeah.
it can be an adventure.
Hmm. Yeah, I see young people like very confident about their skill set, and I always say, okay, forget a flat screen, right? Forget your ability from flat screen. What else can you do? And there is
Yeah,
not much they can do.
that's sad. That's sad. They need art supplies and craft supplies and some
Yeah.
dirt.
Hmm. Yeah. Some dirt is pretty much needed for
Yes.
everybody right now.
Yes.
um yeah, I think we're all doomed on it. Don't worry about it.
We're all-
There is no hope for us. Yeah, I
well,
think.
I don't know about your scriptures over
Hmm.
there, but ours, I've read the end of the book,
Hmm.
and it's good. You know,
Hmm.
a lot of Christians
Hmm.
like to dwell on the bad,
Hmm.
you know, but most scriptures around the world, when you get to the very end of the book, it's not bad.
Hmm.
Sometimes things have to get worse before they get better,
Hmm.
but I think there is hope,
Hmm.
but it's not in things, it's not in material stuff, it's not
Hmm.
in cities. It's getting back.
Unfortunately for me, Donita, my scripture, like one part of my scripture takes me 32 years to complete, like for a regular human, to understand it complete. So we have four Vedas, right? So it's like 32 multiplied by 4, which is too much.
It's a lot,
It's a
right?
lot.
Yeah.
It's a
If
lot.
we get all of ours together, there's 82
Hmm.
books, I think. Um and we've gone through them, and we just kind of keep going through them because you learn
Hmm.
something new every time
Hmm.
you go through the stuff.
Yeah.
And that
You know,
ancient
the problem with my religion is, my religion teaches you everything. Like, we have formulae to generate soil out of nowhere. We have weather patterns, growth patterns, like future understanding of time, length, everything, like everything that you need for life, it's there. So it takes some time to study.
yeah, yeah.
It takes a long time to study, actually.
Ours has that too. I did
Yeah.
probably in a different way, but
Hmm.
I think it it's worth reading. It's worth looking into. It may take a long time. You
Hmm.
may only get a little
Yeah.
bit at a time, but
Hmm.
um,
But I'm
there
more worried about Brandon more than anybody else right now with the Ukraine
he
situation.
probably needs to read some scriptures too. I really do
Yeah.
think.
I mean, like an average person doesn't feel like they have a lot of future, because they do understand the reality. Like, one nuclear bomb is all it's going to take to mess this thing up, and we are getting very close to it, very
I
close.
I think what most people
Because
need to
did,
realize.
did you see that Poland joined EU?
Oh, did they? No, I didn't.
Yeah, Poles were not supposed to join EU. That was the agreement after the
Wow.
Berlin Wall,
But then they
and now
did.
they have joined and they're trying to support Ukraine. So shit's about to get real, guys.
Yeah. Yeah,
If
I
I were
agree.
you, I would find an underground bunker very quickly.
Uh-huh. I think we all kind of need to realize that whenever we're done, we all get a 6-foot plot or a
Yeah.
box if you're doing cremation,
Mm-hmm.
and you can't take anything with you.
Mm-hmm.
So
Yeah.
getting your priorities
Mm-hmm.
intact
Yeah.
is,
And get a bunker, right? While you're at it.
no, I if they're gonna blow me up, that I'm okay with it.
Mm-hmm.
They can blow me up. I'm all right.
Yeah. Hope
I'm
because you do have some chances because you do live somewhat far
I
away
live
from a city.
further away from, yeah, we're about 2 hours from the nearest Air Force base.
Okay.
Um, the Oklahoma is the center for petroleum
Mm-hmm.
production.
Mm-hmm.
So
So you will
and
be protected or hit
so
first.
I mean they could hit that and they could take
Yeah.
down America.
Yeah.
But yeah, I'll be
Did
far
you see
enough.
that a
I mean,
Chinese
I'm
min?
not worried about the tornadoes and
Uh-huh.
you know,
Did you see that the recent Chinese minister who threatened United States? Have you seen that?
no.
He
Huh.
said that I have a 8-year-old kid who knows how to hack, and if I ordered, he could get the whole electrical grid of United States down in 2 minutes, like
Oh
two
yeah.
and a half
I
minutes.
have no doubt. Any good hacker can do it. Oh
He
yeah.
said no. The insult was he said my son who is like 8 years old can do that.
Uh-huh. I have absolutely no doubt. I think that's I could probably do it. Honestly. And I'm not a tech genius at all,
But
but
Donita, we want you to be a congressman. That's the ultimate
you
goal.
want me to become a yeah, yeah.
Yeah. All I'm trying is I'm trying at least one of my American friends to get into politics.
To
Please,
get into politics.
I am
Well,
interested in money.
I get into the wrong end of the politics. I
That's
tend
okay.
to chew on
Y-
the politicians.
yeah.
I'd rather chew on them than be the one that's
Mhm.
getting chewed.
No, Donata, what you can do is you have the position, I will have the power. Like we will do a trade, right?
Oh, okay.
Yeah. So at least like 400x the wealth that we currently possess. Um, so the shame is, this is real talk, right? Like this is what people are planning all the time. People join these cults and they say is just go become a congressman. That's all. If you look at Scientology, any cult, right? That's what they always push for.
I think for the most part here in America, they're selected
Hmm.
from specific groups of people.
Yeah.
So it just, we will have people that every once in a while will pop out of the woodwork and try to run for,
Hmm.
office.
Hmm.
But if they're not part of the club,
Hmm.
they don't get in. They don't have a
Yes.
chance.
Yes. Yes. This is totally off topic. The best ad for a political campaign that I saw was, I don't know his name. He was talking about the defunding of police. He said, "The next time you're in trouble, call a crackhead." I don't remember the politician's name. Um,
oh my goodness. Okay.
yeah.
Okay.
So he said, if you want to really like defund the police, right? So next time you get into trouble, call a crackhead.
I can hear him now. Well, I don't care.
Oh my god! And that was my favorite political campaign ad. And then
Okay.
he comes on and says, my name is so and so, and I approve this message.
Well, that shows you where America is now.
Yeah, yeah. I mean, if I was an American, I'd probably vote for him just because of the honesty, right?
Just because of the honesty.
Yeah, he's at least honest. He's like, yeah, call a crackhead, like don't call the cops, because that's what's happening in Canada, right? They're shutting down their 24-hour system, and they're not providing support in the most like critical hours. That's like 3 a.m. to 7 a.m. or 6 a.m. They're not providing support. So they're like, okay, you call us, okay, you record what the problem you have, we will respond you by 7 a.m.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's a dangerous thing.
Yeah. Yeah, it is. That's why a majority of Americans are armed citizens
Yeah, hopefully,
and
yes,
intend
hopefully.
to stay that way.
Yeah, that's one of the things that I like about America, right? Like anybody could off anybody anywhere.
Pretty much. And there's a lot of land out here. I mean, you won't find a
Yeah,
body.
yeah. Recently, there was like a robbery in Florida, and the and the person shot the robber, and the sheriff is like, guys, we're not trying to arrest you or something, just let us know who you are, like who was the person who defended themselves. Because they're unable to track them, so they're like, please just come forward. Like, we're not going to punish you, but we need to close this case. So if you could please come forward and let us know that you are the person who shot, we would be very grateful for your efforts. And I found it so hilarious that, okay, now even cops are just like requesting. I heard somewhere that, like, more than there are more guns than people in United States. So yeah, I feel like, yeah, it's a good country, with a lot of crackheads.
That's true, but I mean, some of those crackheads are just about the most honest people you'll meet.
Yes, yes, definitely. Definitely. Yeah, yeah, it was nice talking to you, Donita. Yeah, it
This
was a
was
very
fun.
good conversation.
Yeah.
um yeah, we went off the hook, right? Because
Definitely. Definitely. This was a lot of fun.
yeah, I always like to toe my lines with Americans because I like to tease them. because for because the only reason is, I know more about America than they probably know about India.
That is probably true. That is
Yeah,
probably true.
yeah, so I'm like, not my fault, your propaganda is too good, so I know too much about the United States now.
Oh my
I
goodness.
always joke around, right? Like, I'm an Indian. Even then, I could probably do your taxes better than you could do it by knowing the laws.
Well, if you can figure them out. I mean, they change every year.
Yeah, yeah. So yeah, I feel like, yeah, that's why I enjoy more episodes with Americans, because it's just like eye opening for them, right?
Yeah.
Because we have a sport called as cricket. Don't worry about remembering where you heard it. It's not a insect, it's a sport.
Yeah. I,
um
yeah.
and we have like NFL model, right? Like where cities fight with each other, franchisee model. And every match has more people watching live than the population of whole United States.
Yeah.
Just to flex, right? Yeah.
Well, more people in the United States need to get rid of the TV.
Hmm.
Need to
Yeah,
definitely get rid of the TV. We don't
but
have TV. We've
hmm,
never had TV programming. It's not worth it.
hmm,
So the most we have is, YouTube and Amazon Prime for movies or whatever.
hmm,
And then we nitpick those to
hmm.
high heaven, analyzing every little thing about them. But
Yeah,
which we enjoy. I can enjoy the
yeah.
movie and I can nitpick at both.
So first you watch alone, right? You
No,
nitpick the movie.
we watch as a family. We pause and we
Hmm,
nitpick, and then
hmm.
and have discussions. And
Donata, I feel like you could probably have a reaction channel by now.
I we probably could, but I can't get my children on the. They don't want to be on screen
Hmm.
with me.
Yeah.
They're a lot more fun than I am in
Hmm.
that way. But yeah, I
Yeah.
put my tin hat on and I get on my channel and I talk about crazy things. And
Yes.
I've got a very fancy tin hat,
Hmm.
so it's
I saw
yeah,
you. I saw you one of those episodes where a lady was wearing a tin hat. She was
yeah.
from what dietitian homestead something. Homestead dietitian.
Oh, yes,
Homeschool
yes.
dietitian. I
A
don't remember
homeschool
the name.
dietitian. Yes,
Yeah,
Debbie.
she was wearing a tin hat.
Yes, she had one
Um,
on, and I've
and
got one.
and I literally hope that it was sarcasm.
Oh, yeah, we're having fun. Yeah,
Yeah,
definitely,
yeah.
definitely.
I
Yeah,
hope so.
yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
We're having fun because we talk about those things that people
Hmm.
think, that we wear tin hats all the time. So
Yeah.
mine's got a big flower on the side of it, and
Hmm.
a great big one.
So
But yeah, we have fun.
yeah, I can see that you're having fun even when you are just having a monologue. Like you're talking to the camera, and I can see, okay, you got some passion and some juice, right, to talk about it.
Yeah.
So I hope you continue that, and I hope you have a good growth. And if possible, just look into becoming a congressman for us at least.
Okay, I'll look into it. I will let my
Yes.
audience know that you said that
Yeah.
I should become a congressman.
Mm-hmm.
I'll
Yeah.
start my fundraising.
Yeah, definitely, because we have animals becoming mayors now. So I feel like the race is pretty easy now.
Yeah, yeah, we should. But I should definitely be able to get up
Yes.
there with my tin hat and
Yeah.
yeah.
Oh my God. Yes. Yes. All you have to say is Earth is flat. That's all.
Oh yeah.
People will vote for you.
Uh-huh. Yeah. Mhm.
Yeah. So thank you very much for being here. It was a blast
This
talking to
was a
you.
lot of fun. I'm glad that I got to do this. This
Thank
was
you so
great.
much once again. And to my audience, guys, this is the end of the episode. And if you made it till now, I would say you have a pretty good amount of tolerance in your blood. Because Donata and me have probably offended like 10 plus groups of people by now. And if you're not offended yet, we will try harder the next time, to get you offended, and we will try to offend you as much as possible. And I feel like if you are offended by this, I would say challenge yourself and ask why you are offended. There is probably something wrong with your parenting, or the way your father did not beat you or something. I don't know. But yeah, um for any more details of Donita, the YouTube channel that I cannot spell the name of, even there was a gun to my head. The link will be in the description, and her website, link also will be in the description. So go just check her out and just comment, saying, we heard you on Sapient. So maybe she'll get more motivation to become a congresswoman. So hopefully next time we talk to her, she's probably putting her paperwork right. So yeah, until the next time, take care and thank you so much.